So, hello everyone, and welcome back to the 1 Point Safety Show with myself, Scott Hartley, and my co-host, Scouse Andy. How are we doing, Scouse? You all right, mate?
I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Been another busy week at work, but it seems to have flown in this week. I don't know what's going on. It's just back into the swing of things after the new year. I just feel a bit down because we've had a couple of weeks off, and it's straight back into the world of work, unfortunately. But today we are joined by an absolutely special guest. He is a regular in our WhatsApp
Very
groups.
special.
Very special. We've
One way of
coming
putting
all the way from Ireland. We're joined by Tony Wheat, a long-time Commanders fan, another Brit. We were lucky enough to meet him at the Jags game, the start of the season, and before that, travelled out with us. So, how you doing, Tony? You all right?
Good, thanks, Scott. Yeah, nice to see you, boys. Seems like 5 minutes ago since we were in DC watching the Jags game, but obviously it's the whole season's gone now. So, yeah, but great to catch up.
It's just crazy, isn't it? These 17, 18 weeks and so on, just they fly by, don't they? The next thing you know, they're gone. And it's gone. So we've just got Tony on today, really, just to talk about his fandom, talk about how he became a Washington Redskins, Washington football team, and now Washington Commanders fan.
All of the above.
What he's gone through the years, how he's got on with it, and we'll ask him a few questions on the way. And then he'll hopefully be sticking around with us for the podcast, and we'll chip in with our usual segments on the news. We've got a recap of the wildcard weekend, Scouse's sizzle, and then we're going to go and look at the divisional round as well. So we'll kick off with you then, Tony. Really, what made you become a fan of this team then? Obviously over in Ireland.
Yeah, well, it was back in the days when I was still at home in England. What we know. In 1982, obviously, game started being shown on Channel 4. Started a bit before that. Friend of my dad's went on business to the US and came back with a couple of pennants, the good old-fashioned pennants.
Yeah, I remember.
And one was a Redskins one, and one was a Cowboys one. And as the elder brother, I got first dibs. So I took the Redskins one, and my brother took the Cowboys one. Not knowing
Is he still a Cowboys fan?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Oh, mate, what's that about? You get to turn him straight away.
He's beyond. He's not as fanatical as me. He's more a casual fan, but he is a Cowboys fan. So I did let him have it last week. It's not quite as good as like someone who's a super fan, but So we didn't know anything about the teams then, obviously, because the game wasn't even on in the UK. And then like that year, literally, was when they started showing the games. It was a strike season in '82, and just by some pure happenstance, that was the year we won the first Super Bowl against the Dolphins. So I don't really remember too much about that because I was only 9, I think, at the time.
Wow.
Didn't really understand the game at that stage either, obviously, because you were getting an hour a week on Channel 4. And then over the next 2 or 3 years, sort of started to understand it more, get into it more. And by the mid '80s, I was kind of in the fanatic stage already. So that's getting on for about 38, 39 years ago. So
really long time then. So was there anything in particular then, like a play, or is there any game that you particularly watched that you thought, yeah, this is it now, I'm definitely 100% all in on this team?
I think, funnily enough, it was probably the year after '82 when we actually lost in the Super Bowl to the Raiders, Super Bowl 18. That was like 2 years in by then, and I'd already kind of earmarked the team as the one I was going to support because of the pennant. But then obviously winning the Super Bowl in the first year helped. Everybody liked a bit of glory chasing. So I was kind of well into it by then, and then obviously we went into the Super Bowl against the Raiders in 83-84 season. Big favourites. We'd scored the most points in NFL history. Hard to believe that now, obviously, watching our offense. But that season, we'd absolutely ripped it up, and pretty much, the 2 games we lost 48-47 and 31-30 in that season. 14-2, went into the Super Bowl pretty strong favourites against the Raiders and got absolutely obliterated. But that kind of, I could tell that it was for real because of how upset I was. And I was only 10. So, that kind of sealed it. And then over the next couple of years, we were kind of there or thereabouts again until '87 when we went back and won the second Super Bowl after the second strike season.
So that must have been really amazing for a young kid then to see the Joe Gibbs era. You've also seen Joe Gibbs 2.0.
Yeah.
I know Scouse has been a fan for a long time. He's
mine was a very similar story-ish, but obviously for the 91. But for the 91, Super Bowl, I was like 9 myself at that point, so I didn't really know too much about it. But my brother's obviously he's like 13 years older, so he was kind of like trying to tell me bits and pieces.
Right.
But he was into it because, a bit like yourself, the 80s has started off just going over here, and they were actually good at that time. So I started, and to be fair, I find that quite a lot really with a lot of fans. You see it as because you got no true affiliation. So how do you get that affiliation? So you something simple like you mentioned with the plaque, or you just see them on telly and thought, oh, I like them. It can be something simple like that, can't it? That can really
and it seemed that in the 80s there was a lot of teams that were getting a lot of the TV coverage, and obviously they were the successful teams, and I think there's still the teams in the UK that have got the traditional fan bases, like the Dolphins, the Redskins, the Bears, the 49ers, the Cowboys. All those teams that were traditional powerhouses in those days got all the fans, and I think there's a generation of guys my age or around my kind of age who are the sort of the original sort of UK.
We bow to your fandom, Mike. Definitely.
Oh no, you don't need to do that. But
you got the best decade. You
did. We've just got 25 years of nonsense.
Shit.
I looked at it again the other day because somebody asked me something about it, and in the first 10 years from 82 to 91, because we won Super Bowl 17 and Super Bowl 26, so that's 10 if you count 10 Super Bowls. We won 3 out of those 10, lost a 4th, and made another NFC Championship game. So 5 out of those 10 seasons, we were in at least the NFC Championship game, which seems like a lifetime ago now.
Can't even get one playoff win, mate. Can't even get one playoff win now.
It's mad, isn't it?
Absolutely awful.
Yeah, barely remember a playoff win.
So speaking of that, I mean, so you mentioned who's your all-time kind of favorite player?
I think it's still got to be Joe Theismann. Joe was the first, because even back then the single bar face mask stood out. It was kind of, players still had the old duckbill face mask a little bit in those days, but there was, apart from kickers and punters, there was no one that had the single bar, and he just had that swagger about him and that kind of that personality. And then obviously, I remember how upset I was when I heard about his injury on Monday night, against the Giants, Lawrence Taylor. So, I was like traumatized because he was. I remember one of the happiest moments of my childhood, and this is going to make me sound really sad, was that it's probably it would have been 84 or 85. It was certainly before the injury, of writing to Joe Theismann at the Redskins and getting nothing back for months and months and months, and then one day opening the door into the porch, and there was this big gold envelope with the Redskins helmet and Redskins Park, whatever, in the corner.
Wow.
That's cool. It was Joe Theismann signed photograph, and I was like the most happy kid in the world at that point. So
I hope you still got it and the envelope. That'd be awesome.
I don't know whether I have, because
hey, what's that about, lad? That should have been framed somewhere.
I know.
It should have been, 100%.
I think my mum and dad, when I moved out, ultimately ended up chucking, because I had like all the touchdown magazines, all the gridiron, all the first downs, the quarterbacks, the books. I had everything, and I think it's all gone. And I had Joe Theismann photo, I had Doug Williams, Mark Rippon, Jay Schrader, and I think they've all gone.
I'm lucky that I've still got a Joey T signed jersey framed.
Oh yeah. Class. I'd love that.
Yeah, Scouse is big into his memorabilia. I mean, obviously my fandom's really, really young, so I only started really properly pinning my colours to the mast in 2011, which is not a long time at all. And then obviously RG that was me.
Yeah,
he was the one who got me. He was the one who got me. Yeah, he got me hooked. I blame you, Robert. But no, I'm not into massive into memorabilia and stuff. Whereas obviously, I might do in later years, I'm sure. But it's one of them. So who on the current roster then do you think is your favourite player at the moment then? Have you got one, or do you?
It's funny, isn't it? Because we've been in such a period of a lack of success for so sort of long, relatively speaking. I mean, we've not been dreadfully bad other than one season, but we're in that kind of 6, 7, 8 win purgatory of neither being good enough to contend or bad enough to do a full rebuild. And there's a lot of players on the current squad. I mean, I suppose the obvious answer would be Terry, because of just how good he is, and how not just how good he is, but how much of a team player he is, and how much of a a professional, how much of an ambassador he is. So that's probably the predictable and boring answer, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, look, this season, and I think there's been a few, blogs and things written about MVPs. I've just enjoyed watching Payne all season. I think he's just been tremendous, and I think that somehow they've got to re-sign him, whether they franchise tag him or whether they come to a deal.
What do you think's going to happen there? Do you think he'll actually will sign a deal?
I don't know. I think that if you believe what the team are saying, then they're committed to try and do something with him. Now, I would be tempted to do it because as much as everybody's saying you can't commit all your money into, you can't sign 4 defensive linemen to a contract to big deals, and I kind of agree with that. But at the same time, if even franchise tagging him this year buys you a little bit of time, because with the best will in the world, we don't know if Chase Young is going to come back to an elite level next season. We hope he does, but I don't think you can guarantee it. The signs were promising.
Yeah, he showed some flashes, didn't he? Though, of high level.
He did.
It's nice been out for a while.
Yeah, and I think he probably will. And the same with Montez Sweat. Now, Montez Sweat's probably, he's a tier below the real elite defensive ends or pass rushers in the NFL. But he's, you probably at least buy yourself a season, because if you franchise tag him, not that that's ideal, then you've got another year to see whether you think Sweat's worth, the big investment, and then Chase Young as well. So I think they need to find a way to get it done. I suspect they probably will, but it's not guaranteed.
Do you think he wants to stay? Because I think I've mentioned before in a couple of pods, I think personally he doesn't want to stay, because why would he?
I think
he can go anywhere.
Yeah. I think that's a fair comment. I don't know. I think he's been playing his cards fairly close to his chest. I think some of those sort of exit interviews at the end of the season were a little bit coy. He was just
a celebration with the all.
Yeah,
sign my check, bitch. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and why not? Because he deserves it. His game went to another level this year with with the pass rush on top of the his run stuffing. So yeah, there's got to be a way to make it work. I don't think it sends a very good message if you let him walk. Whilst I think at the same time, you've got to also appreciate, and I don't necessarily think that everybody does appreciate what it would mean to sign 4 defensive linemen to sort of 20 million a year contracts. I mean, that's like, I know the cap's going up, but if you're top end pass rushing now is getting closer to 30 million. So if you're committing best part of 100 million of your salary cap to 4 players and they're 4 defensive linemen, it's a bit of an ask, but
it's risk. It's risky strategy, isn't it?
Yeah. Sure. But at the same time, Payne's another player who was drafted by the team and has come through and done well, and you want to reward those guys. They did that with Terry last year. I mean, that was probably one of
John Allen as well.
John Allen, yeah, and if there was a deal breaker with Terry, it was probably whether the team would have looked at the optics of how bad it would have been not to re-sign him, given that he was a 3rd round pick. He came through. He's the team leader. You don't let those guys walk. And Allen obviously is perhaps a bit more vocal as a leader than Payne is, but Payne, as a 1st round pick, has done what you could expect.
Yeah,
11.5 snacks. Yeah, sorry, mate.
To me, sorry, mate, but it's amazing, though, isn't it, that these guys always do it in contract year? You notice that? He's had 5 years with us, and he's been pretty bang average, really, until this season.
Yeah,
he's been unbelievable, and it's just like, well, yeah. You did it for the money, really. I mean, the big time contract was just around the corner.
Yeah,
he stayed healthy as well. He wasn't injured. He got injured every season besides this year. So
yeah,
you're thinking, well,
it's a good point. There's a lot of guys who've done that. There's a lot of guys who've done that
as well, haven't you?
Amazing, isn't it? I just find it amazing across the board. It's not just us; it happens to everybody. But the contract years, they turn it on.
They do, and then the danger obviously then is you get your money and you get content and you drop your level.
Exactly,
off. So,
and do you drop exactly? Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. That's happened so many times, and we don't know if it would happen, but it's definitely a danger.
Something to think about, anyway.
Definitely. So, is there any other sports that you're into that you like, that you have particularly navigated around? I know you're quite a big rugby union lad. Yeah, rugby.
Yeah, I guess played it. From since I was a kid. My dad was one of the founder members of my club back home. So I played up to junior international level as a underage kid in England under 19s. Never quite made it as a professional. It was just actually before my peak, this is how old I am, was before the game went pro in 95. So when I was in the sort of the England squads of age groups around 18s, 19s, that was 1990, 91, 92, and it was pre-academies, all that. So I had a bit of a, what do they call it in America? A bit of a cup of coffee at Leicester Tigers, a bit of a cup of coffee at Sale. Never quite made it, and just was happy enough playing, National League rugby. So I did a bit of director rugby when I finished there for a couple of years at my club when we were in the National Leagues. And then I was moved. They call Longton the Longton Rugby Club. It's based in Stoke-on-Trent.
Stoke, Longton. Yeah.
They've moved.
I know the place anyway.
They've gone down about 3 leagues, I think, 2 or 3 leagues in the last. It's my home club. It's my dad's still heavily involved, and it's always in my heart, but not as involved these days because bizarrely I ended up getting into discipline after I finished. So I do discipline now for the RFU and for the Irish Rugby Union and the European Cup.
I saw you going out. I thought you were in Cyprus, weren't you? Not so long ago.
Well, that's something else as well. Yeah, the discipline stuff is like if you're a naughty boy and you get sent off, you come in front of a panel where you'll see my ugly mug. I also do match commissioner stuff, which is where you basically go out to international games and you run all the off the field stuff. So you do you deal with the team managers, you deal with the off the field, the technical zones, the security, the medical, the drugs, anti-drugs. That is, we don't take drugs. It's not that kind of do.
Sure. Yeah.
TV, all that, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty involved. Yeah. So I was in Cyprus in November, and I've got Portugal versus Romania in Lisbon the weekend after the Super Bowl. So I'm out there. That'll be a big one because Portugal qualified for the World Cup this year for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So they'll be
Romania are a really good tier 2 nation as well, aren't they? So
yeah. The Cyprus one was a little bit less. That was a couple of tiers below, but this is the sort of the level below the six.
The Mouflons, I can't remember what they're called now.
The mighty Mouflons.
That's it, Mouflons. I remember because I was obviously based out there with the RAF for 3 years.
Yeah, it's huge military presence.
Obviously we used to play up at Paphos and train with their first team. So really, really interested. But they were just getting off the ground then. They were playing teams like Israel and stuff.
Well, that was the game. That was my game. So you can imagine on an island that's got a heavy military presence, you bring in Israel as well. Israel came. I was warned about this by Rugby Europe before the game. They said, look, Israel, because everyone else obviously gets official accreditation, and they were like, Israel are going to come with additional security. So obviously, ever since Munich '72, any Israeli sports team gets accompanied. So rugby would be the other one. That takes up a bit.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and you've obviously had quite a varied career there as well, haven't you? Really.
Is that why you live in Ireland? Because of that, or
no? My missus is Irish, so she moved, when we met. She moved over to England for about 6 years, and then we decided that when our daughter was sort of school age, we'd come back here. So we came back here in 2019 because all the family lived within like a stone's throw. I could throw a stone and probably hit half the houses. So it's very, very local community, very sort of close knit community. So that's why we ended up back here.
That's nice. Cool. That's really nice. That's right. Well, thanks for taking the time to tell us about your fandom, really, Tony. Honestly, really appreciate it. You're the first one to guest appear on our show. So,
first or worst, then
just get it out of the way.
Second is
can only go uphill from here.
Oh, not at all, not at all. Well, we've got a bit of news really then on Commanders themselves. So we're going to talk a little bit about the OC hire. Obviously, we knew Scott Turner was fired, and to the delight of Scouse there. And
yes,
we've got a list of names here of people who've been considered or declined. So we've interviewed today Atlanta. Let me start again. We've interviewed. Is it? We have. It's the Atlanta QB's coach Charles London. We've interviewed today.
Yeah.
Miami assistant head coach and running back coach Eric Studsville has been requested permission to speak to him. Darrell Bevel from the Miami Dolphins was also in the frame but declined.
We're nobody's second choice, bro.
Yeah.
So if it comes round again, fuck him. Yeah.
You stay in your nice, hot, lovely Florida home.
Nice, hot Miami.
Exactly,
Doing nothing. No.
We don't need you.
Coldwell's been talked about. Frank Reich's been talked about. And we've interviewed Pat Shermer. And we've also interviewed internal candidate Ken Zampese, who's our current QB's coach. What's your thoughts on that then, Scouse? On anyone stand off for you there or stand out as a potential OC hire who you like?
Or an actual hire. I mean, none of those guys that you've mentioned is the guy that I really want. So, for me, I want Bobby Slowick back from the 49ers. but he was with us, so he's got
Yeah.
ties to us, and he's been on defensive side of the ball and offensive side of the ball, and he was an analyst beforehand as well.
Yeah.
So he's got a little taste of all of it. You know what I mean? So I think it'd be and he's obviously making Purdy look like a bloody Tom Brady prime guy. Do you know what I mean? So I'm all in for him. But okay, if he's not coming, and the guys you mentioned, to be fair, I realistically think it's going to be Pat Shermer. I think it's going to be him who's going to get it. He's got ties with Ron as well from a long time ago, like 15 years ago. We were together. I think when they were both at Philly. So he knows him well from there. So I think it's going to be Pat Shermer. But Frank Reich, for example, he's got no chance of coming because Frank Reich's he's going to be paid $9.5 million next year. He's not even working.
Yeah.
So there's no way now he's going to go, oh yeah, I'll sign up for the Commanders OC post, which is going to be probably half that kind of cash. There's just no chance he's going to take that. So forget him. So for me, unfortunately it's going to be Shermer, but I prefer Slowick.
Any thoughts on that, Tony?
Yeah, I think probably tend to agree with Scouse in some ways. I don't think any of these guys who are having head coaching interviews like Reich and people like that are gonna be interested. And obviously, Bevel turned it down, or even turned down the opportunity to interview because he'd rather stay in Miami. There was an interesting one potentially thrown into the equation today because the Ravens have just fired Greg Roman, haven't they? Their offensive coordinator today.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if Ron's talking about a run heavy offense, then obviously it's a bit different with the Ravens because that was a lot centered around Lamar, but that's the kind of offense that Roman's kind of ground heavy offense is something that he would now. Again, he was only fired today, so and he may not even be a contender. I don't know. I haven't looked into it if he's got any links to Ron. But I think the problem is it's not an attractive job because you've got a coach who, regardless of a change of ownership, is probably seriously on the hot seat next year. May only have one more year unless things turn around. And if the ownership change does come in within the next season, then there's a pretty good chance that whoever the owner is going to clear house anyway. So you might be looking at a 1 year job.
I find it the other option. I think you could work your way in as the head coach.
Yeah, possibly.
If you're a good offensive coordinator, who's going to come in and go, you know what, I'm actually going to tear this shit up. I mean, I'm going to destroy the NFL. How good I am with my offensive scheme. And we've got the weapons. So from that side of things, you think as long as we beef up the O-line, we're going to be good. Do you know what I mean? An offense with skill talent, and skill position guys. And I'm thinking, if Ron's going to be gone, I fancy the coaching job if I do well in my 1 year here because I'm not affiliated to Ron. I'm a new guy, so I've got a chance to see what I mean. If you're good, obviously, if you're shit, obviously you're going to get fired as well. But if you're good, then why not? But again, it is a risk, especially for someone who's got a good reputation that might lose a little bit of that. But
yeah, two things for me really is I agree with you, Scouse, and you, Tony. I think it will be Pat Shermer, but is it a smokescreen just to give Ken Zampese the job internally? We don't know that. And are we going to believe what Ron and Marty said in their closing end of season interview where they said they want to be a 2-1 run team? I don't think that works in the current NFL at all. I mean, if you look at all of the quarterbacks who are in the wildcard round, they're all pass-heavy quarterbacks. They're all young. They're all under. I think the oldest, is Dak.
There's only one. There's only one really that's run heavy, and that's the 49ers.
Yeah,
they're the only run heavy team. All the other guys are throwers. Do you know what I mean? So, I think it's a hard one, man. I think it's a hard one.
I mean, no offense in the NFL is going to be 2-1 anyway these days. 66% to 33% breakdown pass to rush to pass. I mean, that's not going to happen. Simple as that. I mean, I think probably people have jumped on that a little bit too much and taken that literally now. I think what they're alluding to is the fact that they have seen us have success in those little sort of runs of games where we've won this year and last year, where we've controlled the ball, controlled the clock, play good defense, and I think that basic template is what he's after. I think the 2-1 thing is obviously a little bit.
I don't think so. If you look at our offense, right, and you say to me, "Where's our best players?" What position would you say our best players are on offense?
Receiver.
Exactly, it's receiver. Yeah. So you've got strength and depth. You've got 4 quality dudes. I mean, Darby Brown's decent if you actually give him the ball, and Howell will next season for 100% if he starts, obviously. I just think like we ones. I mean, I'm hoping that there's a smoke screen. He actually going to start passing it a lot more. That's what I want. I want to see a lot more. I'd love to see a new guy come in who's got like a bit more kind of new ideas rather than actually just stale old shite.
I don't have any problem with them wanting to be able to run the ball well, because I think with our receivers, if you run the ball well, you can then use play action to just kill people, because teams are going to have to stack the box a little bit more, and then if they're going to have to respect the run a lot more, assuming we've got a quarterback that can actually throw the ball to the right color jersey, and we've got the weapons that can do the damage, like Scouse said. So I think there is some hint of a smoke screen there.
What do you think about Howell?
Yeah, that was my next question. Well done.
He was great against Dallas, and I think he should be given every opportunity to win the job. I don't think he should be handed the job on the basis of 19 passes. He was 11 out of 19, and if you take out the bomb, which obviously was a great play, he was 11 out of 19 for about 120 yards. So, but at the same time, to me, he showed the characteristics. Take the stats out of it. He showed the characteristics that you need from a quarterback. He obviously he's mobile as well, which is a massive advantage. But he's got a little bit of moxie, a bit of swagger in the sense that, like Heineke has, but he's actually got more tools. He's obviously got a much bigger arm. So I wouldn't anoint him right now. I think you'd be stupid to not actually look at what the free agent market is, what the trade market is, because there's a lot of quarterbacks out there who could potentially be moving teams. I think they need to be wary. I think we need to be a bit like the Colts, and just kind of say, listen, we're not just going to saddle ourselves with another retread. Again.
Wouldn't most these quarterbacks that could be coming available, they are retreads, aren't they? Unless you're like getting someone who's been there 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, technically they are. But what about just throwing a name in there that it wouldn't be a retread? What about Trey Lance? If the Niners win the Super Bowl, who's going to be the starting quarterback next year for the 49ers?
Well, that is interesting. That'd be an interesting conversation.
Brock Purdy. Trey Lance. I was listening to a pod tonight on the way home, and they were saying Trey
Lance.
Wasn't
us, no.
No, wasn't you, mate. Wasn't you. Wasn't you.
Cheers.
That's fine. Sorry. I'll try and improve. No, but they were saying that if obviously Purdy's almost done enough to win the job as it is anyway. And if they win another game or another couple of games, you've got to think he's the starter next year. Now the Niners might just keep Lance anyway, because Jimmy G's a free agent, so they're gonna lose him regardless. So whether they'd want to lose those two guys is probably doubtful. But if Lance wants to start, I mean, he did that ridiculous tweet with the guy who's been pointed to the Titans GM, hasn't he? Who I think it was the 49ers head of player personnel, and he's tweeted with like the photo of the guy and then 3 crossed fingers, which people have. It could just be wishing him all the best, but people are interpreting it as being like, "Please come and trade for me." So there's going to be. It's not just the sort of the Derek Carrs and the Jimmy G's of this world, the Jacoby Brissetts and all these kind of serious retreads. There's some young guys out there like Lance, and I don't want to set too many hairs running, but Lamar Jackson.
Would you go and trade for him?
Depends what they wanted for him. What for Trey Lance?
Lance.
Potentially, but then again,
because they're going to want their investment when they tweeted 3 firsts.
Oh, they're not going to get anywhere near that, are they? But I think the thing is he hasn't had the chance to in a sustained run of game to show what he can do. But at the same time, Purdy's come in and shown that he can do it. So whether they just like cut bait on him and say we'll go with Purdy, we'll get what we can for him.
It's a strange one, isn't it, Tony and Scouse? Because I've heard various rumors. I mean, the first person that sprung to my mind was what's Jordan Love doing in Green Bay? Who knows? So there's one that we could potentially get for quite a low pick if you're looking at trying to do that.
I think that'll depend on Rodgers.
It will do. It all will do. And then you've got, there's the rumor out there that Justin Fields at the Bears, are they willing to take a quarterback with the number 1 pick? And if they do that, you're going to have a quarterback sale. I mean, ideally, you'd give up a second for that, but they're probably going to want our 16th pick for Fields. But I mean, would you take Fields? I mean, probably I would. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think he's a good quarterback.
I think so. If the price is right, he's still on his rookie deal. He's got 3 years of his rookie deal, two years, and then the 5th year, hasn't he? So he's got at least 2 years guaranteed. But there's a lot of guys out there, and you mentioned Rodgers there. He's given another one of his me interviews the other day on McAfee, which is just ridiculous. But he's already written his ransom note with sign my mates, otherwise I'm off kind of approach. So if he happened to become available, and as daft as it sounds, Brady's a free agent. Now, would you take Brady for 12 months? Don't know, maybe.
I would.
Yeah, you probably would.
I would. Imagine how much Hal could learn of someone like him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'd be a good situation for either Rodgers or Brady. Now, I don't hold any hope that either of them would come to Washington, but
you never know. Tom might, if he sort out the whole line.
Well,
weapons. He's got the weapons there.
We have a better argument to attract someone like those two guys this year, because you can say that. You can actually say, look at our skill position players. Neither of those two guys are going to go to a team. I mean, they're going to go.
I think Brady will end up at the Raiders. I think that's where he'll end up.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely with the McDaniels connection, but because we haven't got any real connections to him. So and apparently again on another pod, which wasn't your pod either, somebody was saying that the word on the thanks mate, love you too. The word on the street is that if Brady wants to go to Vegas, there's pretty much a deal already in place. So who knows? Not to believe. But and of course the other wild card to throw in is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's a serious amount of money. And actually, John Taman off the Bullied in Burgundy pod has already said if Lamar Jackson does sign for this, he's going to go up and he'll take him from Baltimore every game and be his chauffeur, his personal chauffeur to get him down here.
That's a fair deal.
Yeah,
there just seems to be more stuff coming out that suggests that the relationship between the Ravens and him is getting increasingly frayed. And obviously, he represents himself. He doesn't have an agent, and John Harbaugh had plenty of opportunity in the last few weeks to sort of, defend him when he was being asked about him, and never really did. His staple answer was like, well, we think he's going to be healthy. I thought he was going to be healthy by now, and none of it was.
The PCL tweets were very strange as well, openly going out there and saying, my knee isn't right, and then you've got other players coming around saying he's walking around the facility.
The guy's a running quarterback. You can't expect him to do an RG knee.
No.
Blow his knee out.
No.
That's exactly what he did, and that was the end of his career. So, and this guy's got no contract left after this year. So if he comes out there and gets hurt, long-term hurt, it's game over. He's going to get half probably what he's going to be worth now. So I understand where he's coming from.
I get it as well. I mean, part of his problem is that he wanted the fully guaranteed Deshaun Watson contract, and the Ravens aren't going to give it to him. As far as I can tell, I mean, Randy Mueller on the Football GM show was saying that because he's the he's the ex Saints and Seahawks GM, was saying that there's no way that the Browns basically got giddy and kind of realized that the only way they were going to get him was to offer him a ridiculous contract. It was almost like, let's offer him everything, and then when he took it, they were like, oh shit, we've just given him a fully guaranteed contract here, and all the other owners around the league going, what the hell have you just done there?
So it opens the door then, doesn't it? Look at Kirk Cousins. He got a fully guaranteed contract in Minnesota, and then you've got others who've also picked up fully guarantees, and it's just, it's getting wild. And I think this is going to be a busy off season. Not just for the Commanders, but NFL wide. So if you're bored and you feel like football's gone, it hasn't. It's a 24/7 sport. So, we can sit and watch Good Morning Football and everything else that's on there. Draft time's coming up as well. There's lots going on. On other news, then, we're still talking about the sale. Obviously, we know a little bit more. It's bleeding out slowly. Obviously, the NFL keeps its cards very, very close to its chest as to who has bid, who hasn't bid. We saw that bids were around the 6.2 billion mark is what they've come out and said it's there or thereabouts. No one knows, obviously, who has bid and who hasn't bid. But media sources are saying that no Jeff Bezos bid, but the door isn't closed. Josh Harris is a person to look out for, and that Todd Bowley is out. and hasn't made a bid on the Commanders. I think he's too interested in Chelsea at the minute, to be fair. He's got a lot going on. Any thoughts on any ownership then, Scouse? I'll go with you first. Any ownership news on that, or anything that you've seen that's come out recently? Or do you just want rid it down?
Yeah. I mean, well, to be fair, I don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't care who it is. To be fair, it can't be as bad as Dan Snyder. So let's face it. So, but I just think that the way it normally runs when you sell a franchise in the NFL is very secretive, and you never find out who the owner is until it's signed, sealed, delivered. Now the thing is that all these guys, all these names being banded about, I don't think they're even in it. I think there won't be any of those dudes because the NFL don't allow people to like leak it out to say who's actually bid on it, who's doing this, who's doing that, who's the lead bidder. It doesn't work like that. The NHS are very secretive about it. So all this is all crap, all smoke screen, all like kind of media spin and everything else. I think none of those guys you've mentioned are going to get the team.
Yeah, Tony, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, cloak and dagger at the moment. I think I've seen it said that Bank of America, who are obviously brokering any sales, have been leaking out little bits and bobs of information here and there to try and bump the price up. I think that some of those initial reports of it being they've had bids north of $7 billion, supposedly emanated from within Bank of America.
Wow.
And that 6.2 or 6.3 or whatever it is that's the top bid so far, again, has been leaked out so that people can see where the market's at. And so yeah, it's like Sky says. I think that there's names. If you looked at the Broncos sale like last year, there was names being thrown around all over the place as well. So I wouldn't until something is sort of a definitive lead. Everyone made this sort of assumption that it was going to be Bezos. Now he hasn't submitted a bid, but at the same time, there's nothing stopping him at any point coming in and saying, right, well, okay, I'll pay $7 billion. Now, obviously, the story is that Snyder doesn't want to sell to him because of the Washington Post connection. But is he going to spite? Is he going to cut off his nose to spite his face? If Bezos is going to give him $7 billion and somebody else is only going to give him 6.3, given the debt that he's got, like you said, Scouse, the other day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because
he 800 million, isn't it?
Yeah, he owes quite a lot of money. I mean, that's 800 million just for those guys this time. He still owed money to the NFL before that.
Yeah, I don't know how much.
So he owes at least over, I think, $1.5 billion. I think he owes in general.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah,
but he bought out money. He bought out the other guys, and they had, was it 40%? I think it was of the team.
Yeah, it was 800 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the NFL extended his debt limit to beyond what their usual level is. So he's clearly, he's clearly well in.
He's well in debt with the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's like you said, he's going to be making a ton of money.
He's going to make shed loads off it. Oh yeah, 100%.
He only paid whatever he paid. I can't remember what he paid. Was it like
I think he paid 800 mil. Actually, speaking of 800 mil,
yeah, something like that.
And that was 99, was it? When that
99,
yeah.
So he's gonna make a ton of money, but he'd be foolish not to maximise his the potential of sale, even if it pains him to sell it. If Bezos does, and he may not. The whole Bezos thing might just have been a massive assumption.
It could have been.
Because the other thing with Bezos is they were talking about listening to somebody talking about the fact that the Seahawks are going to be coming up fairly soon as well, and Amazon apparently is the main headquarters of Amazon.
Yeah, Seattle.
Is in Seattle. So you just don't, like you said, you just don't know. I mean, anyone but Dan, basically.
Yeah, and do you think, are we all in agreement that we think he is definitely going to sell the full team? Or because there's been rumours again, is it only the majority share that he's going to sell? He's going to keep a minority stake and dig his claws into this team.
That was going to be my sizzle. That was. I mean, I'm not sorry, but I'm not having Dan Snyder hanging around. It's either all or none. Do you know what I mean? You can't just fucking guy just lingering around the background. Fuck him.
No, I don't think he would do that. I think if he was going to do that, he'd sell a minority stake and keep the majority. I think what's the point of him keeping a minority stake? He's still going to.
Just so he can get his claws in the team. Still, that's all that is.
Well, I don't know if he didn't have any influence, but all the signs are indicating the fact that it's going to be a full sale. Bank of America said that they've had 6 is it 6 official bids come in. So, and you know, if you read the tea leaves and listen to some of the local beat guys, they've all heard that it's, you know, not going to be too far off. So if you take that at face value, then you know, it looks like it won't be too far away.
Which will be great news for us.
How's quick though? How soon?
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean? Could be anything, couldn't it?
Exactly. I mean, if it's before, you know, it's going to be seriously pushing it to be before the NFL meetings in the end of March. I mean, that's only 2 months away, so I'd be surprised if it was that quick, but you never know.
I mean, would you think if something was kind of like near enough signed sealed, do you reckon they'd like create an extra meeting, for example, to get
they do an extraordinary general meeting, don't they? Yeah,
possibly so.
Because maybe before the Super Bowl or something like that, so it gives the new owner some possible time to get a new head coach if he wanted to do it now this year rather than next.
Well, it impacts on a lot of stuff, doesn't it? I mean, it impacts on the, you know, the free agency, the draft, the coaching, you know, everything. And I think the other thing is that was seen by some to be a bit of an indicator was that Rivera's end of season meeting with Snyder to set the budget for next season was pushed back. I think it was meant to be.
So what's that mean then?
It was meant to be last week, and it was pushed back to. I think they said to this week. Now I don't know if that's happened or not, but that may just be diary clashes or whatever. I don't know, but I suppose the tongues wagged a little bit to say, well, you know, does that mean that a sale might be close and they're just waiting to finalise it and they'll keep pushing it back because obviously Snyder if Snyder knows he's selling, he's not going to be committing to paying big money out for free agents and things like that because why would he? You know, you could have a scenario where you've almost got, again, this is from something I listened to on the GM podcast where Randy Mueller was saying that he was part of, I think it was it Seattle? There was whichever team he was with at the time, and the team was being sold. And he said, and effectively, even though it hadn't been officially announced, the new owner was actually behind the scenes, and that they were having to run things by the current owner and the guy who was going to be the new owner. Around things like free agents, you'd have to, you know, because obviously the current owner's going, well, we ain't paying big money for a free agent, and
they got to cut the checks, haven't they, for the signing bonus?
New owner's going,
yeah,
you know, because you've got to put your money in escrow and all this kind of stuff for big contracts and stuff. So time is of the essence, really. Otherwise, you know, this coming year, and I think a lot of fans would probably take it if it was just for 1 year, if it meant that Snyder did go. This year almost might be a little bit of a holding year, and that would allow you to definitely start Howell, see what you've got there, and then when the new owner and everything's come in you know, at the end of next season, say, you go, right, well, we either have or haven't got our franchise quarterback in Howell, and we've got a new owner who's now going to fire everybody, start again, we're going to draft a quarterback or trade for a quarterback, and there we are, that's the reset.
And that's exactly what I think will happen. That is what I think will happen. I don't think we'll have a sale by the end of March. I think it'll be more likely April, May time. You know, NFL seasons, obviously, new season starts in the end of March after the owners' meeting. So I think 1st of April, isn't it? It starts going properly. Or is it the very back end of March?
The new league year is usually sort of middle of March, I think, because that's when free agency starts, but the league meetings are usually towards the end of March, I think.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to get anything ratified there. They'll just call an extraordinary general meeting and go from there.
That's why I agree with what you're saying about kind of Howell's being the starter. I think he will be the starter. I think they will get some veteran backup player.
Yeah.
Because I can't see him paying Heineke 15 mil that you might get somewhere else. You might get that somewhere else.
Yeah,
which is a bit excessive, but he could get it. He could pull it. So I think you are talking about those retreads, those dodgy guys. You know, these Brissett's, and I think it'd be someone like him.
But you could
sign Taylor, you know, those type of guys.
Exactly. But I think you could sign some of those guys. Yeah, that level of guy on the relative cheap, as you know, on the understanding that you are the backup and you are there essentially to sort of mentor and, you know, not mentor but help out Howell. You know, you don't want to. You wouldn't do that if you were signing Derek Carr or Jimmy G. These guys are not going to come in as the backup or as the guy who's going to help out Howell. They're going to come into play. So and then obviously your Brady's and your Rodgers will
obviously they're going to
be another level entirely. So you've almost got like 3 levels of free agent there. You know that and what the guy that we would be after would probably be in that Brissett, Tyrod Taylor, like you said, kind of Teddy Bridgewater, the sort of level of backup.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we'll move on then to Scouse's sizzle. If you've still got a bit of a sizzle, if you haven't, that's fine.
The sizzle is now, mate, is you.
Right.
All sizzled out.
For bringing
All
up my
sizzled out.
sizzle beforehand. Yeah,
He's sizzled out.
Sizzled me out, man.
Fair enough. Then we'll move on to the recap of the wildcard weekend then. So we've got the Bills were playing the Dolphins. Bills won 34-31 in a very tight in-division game. Vikings 24, Giants 31, Bengals 24, Ravens 17,
yeah.
Bucks 14, the Cowgirls 31.
Didn't expect
49ers 41, Seahawks 23, and the Jags 31, Chargers 30. Duval, I lost a bet. I love you, Karen. Sorry.
Anyway. I went to bed at 27-0.
So did I.
So did I. I was like, oh, it's over. You threw the fourth pick and thought, oh, that's it. That's over. Yeah. Time to go to bed. What?
As soon as it went 27-0, I was like, this is definitely over.
My wife bought a Jags hat. Yeah,
I saw that.
Then,
yeah,
is that to piss you off? Is that what that was, or was she actually a Jags fan?
No, to do it on purpose, just to annoy me, because she likes the badge and the teal colours. But it is what it is. Hadn't got a clue. But to be fair to her, she actually sat and watched the first. She sat and watched the first half with me, and I was laughing when that last pick went in and went. That's it. I'm going to bed. See ya. And I just woke up and was like, wow, that's actually just happened. Great game that, to be honest with you, when I watched it back. What was your standout game then, Scouse, of that wildcard weekend?
It's got to be that pick. It's got to be that one, hasn't it? It has to be. Yeah. You know, they were dead and buried, and then like Lawrence was having a fucking awful game. Do you know what I mean? In the first half, and then the second half, he was like a completely different quarterback again. You're thinking, wait a minute. And then there's obviously loads of pros and cons of that game. I mean, when you're looking at the offense of the Chargers, what happened there? What happened in the second half for them? They only gained 3 points all second half.
They can't run the ball. That's what you need to do in that situation.
And I don't understand why not. You've got Eckler there. Eckler's an elite running back.
Yeah, they don't use him properly. Well, they do in the passing game, but he's not an every down back in the sort of running back sense. But they should do a better job for sure.
And they've got Josh Kelly as well, who's more of a bruiser. If you want to use the bruiser, but just use them. Keep pounding the rock, man. You waste the clock as best you can from the start of the half. The start of the half, just fucking waste it. You're 27. A lot of
questions on Brandon Staley now. I saw the fallout from that. Loads and loads of questions.
You might get fired. You might get fired for that because of how bad that was. Yeah.
I know they got rid of their OC.
Yeah, I don't think he will now. They fired the OC and they fired the quarterbacks coach. So I think he's pretty much safe.
Yeah, I think he's safe for at least another
year. Scapegoat.
Yeah, exactly.
Two of the boys. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. As somebody said. Well, yeah, but somebody said it was it Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator's decision to play Mike Williams in the week 18 game.
Mistake,
it didn't matter. I mean, no, that was clearly Staley's decision. So
interesting one, that definitely. We'll cover the Vikings and the Giants then. So 24-31 to the Giants. I think we if I look back, the only one that we didn't get right out of our prediction, Scouse, was the Bucks game. We both took the Bucks, and the only one that we got wrong was that. No, you did pick the Giants, definitely. Yeah. Obviously, Kirk Cousins doing Kirk Cousins things. The 4th and 8, and he throws a 3-yard 3-yard.
That's nearly as bad as him taking a knee that time. Remember, when he should have spiked the ball. And he took it
just before half time.
Billy, what are you doing, bro? He has British brain farts.
He does. You're absolutely right.
This guy's like 35-40 mil a year for that dude. Come on.
Yeah. Unreal, isn't it? It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
It's like when he did that against Philly. As soon as he did it, you could kind of see him go.
Like, oh no, what
and then it was the exact same thing when he was walking off the field, on Sunday when he threw it short and he was kind of like, oh, hang on, what have we done there? It was 4th and 8.
He probably thought it was 3 and 8. That's probably what he thought. 3rd and 8.
Somebody said
that's
that.
That's why he checked it down.
Did he think it was 3rd down?
What a tool,
Maybe. Well, we've got the divisional round now, so we'll go through and we'll have a look at the divisional round and what we think will happen here. There's a couple here that I'm a bit on the fence with, and we'll start off with the Jags at the Chiefs. I can't see anything other than a Chiefs win there, to be honest with you. The Jags were very lucky. They played well with Trevor Lawrence, and he's come on no end. Obviously, amazing what you do when you get an actual coach that can coach a quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, the Urban Meyer days are gonna be something that's not gonna sit in the record book very long, is it? I really like what they're doing there. You know, I really think they're going to be good.
They realised early doors though. Oh, we mean no, but this guy's fucking shit.
Yeah.
I don't think you could have.
We don't do that.
He could have stayed in any way, shape, or form. We
leave guys there who are garbage for like 5 years. You know, Jay Gruden's garbage. You know, these guys are garbage.
He's a good OC. He's okay as an OC, but
he's not playing. He's not being an OC though, is he? He's a head coach.
No, he was a head coach.
He had McVay there. He had fucking. He had so many dudes. He could have his offensive coordinator.
Shanahan, Mike LaFleur.
Fucking Shanahan, LaFleur.
Yeah,
McDaniel. You know,
McDaniel. Yeah,
McDaniel for the Jets guy, innit? Jets guy. You know, and yeah, we kept fucking dickhead Gruden. Do you see what I mean? Like that's the kind of shit we do. You know.
So who are you picking then on this game?
Jag was like, yeah, fucking, he's shit. Let's get rid straight away. Fair play to
him. Who are you picking in this Jags Chief game? Is it across the board Chiefs?
Well, it's got to be. It's got to be the Chiefs. I mean, it will be again. I always say it'll be closer than you think it will be. I think it will be close because the Jags D is actually pretty good. To be fair, I know they got burned first half,
and their defense is not the best actually. You know, they oddly enough when. They've always played it close. When they're more than a 7-point favourite with the bookies, it's always ended up very close. And this is like a 14-point swing, I think, looking at the betting market on this game towards the Chiefs. That's a bit more.
To be fair, if I was going off the spread, I'd probably pick the Jags.
Yeah.
Because 14 points is a lot, and I can't see them winning by that. So, but he will win. But I just think it won't be that.
Yeah.
Won't be that.
Can't see beyond the Chiefs there. I think the Jags are almost at the stage where they're almost kind of happy to be here now, kind of approaching. Playing with house money and, you know,
exactly
that. Can make a team dangerous, though. Can make a team dangerous for playing with house money. Like the Giants, you know, against Minnesota. Everybody was like, oh, he's playing with house money. You made it. You did well.
Yeah.
You know,
so speaking of the Giants, they're going to the Eagles. Obviously, we laid the blueprint as to how to beat the Eagles. They're very similar in the way that they can set up with, Saquon Barkley, a mobile quarterback in Daniel Jones. Again, there's an option potentially. I know it sounds as daft as it sounds. You know, Daniel Jones could be an option.
I can't see Giants letting him go now after this season.
I can't now. No.
What a dick move though, not taking his 5th-year option.
Exactly.
That's a dick move, that, wasn't it?
Well, this time
cost you more now, bro.
You know, yeah. Well, it's cost him now, but this time last year, you know, if it hadn't worked well this season, they just released him and he'd have been gone. So
hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it? Though that's the thing.
Yeah. So the Giants could be dangerous in this game. I think the Eagles, you know, I often worry about the teams that sort of started off the season really hot. You know, it's not how they always say it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I think they've cooled down to some extent. And obviously having Hurts injured hasn't helped him. But you know, will he be able to play to his previous level? Will he be able to run like he's run before? Or will he be protecting his shoulder? So I think Philly will win, but I wouldn't put it past the Giants.
Well, as you mentioned yourself, I'm going for the upset here. I'm going to go for the Giants win. I'm going to go for the Giants win. It's going to be like by a 1-pointer or a 2-pointer.
Yeah.
It'll be tight as hell, but I reckon the Giants will do it because the Giants, as you mentioned, team's getting hot. The Giants have done it before.
Oh, they went all the way. They went all the way. Yeah,
they went all the way and did it, and they beat the undefeated Pats as well in the final. So, you know, they've had experience. I know these guys haven't been playing now, but the Giants as an organisation and fans have got the experience of that.
It's eerily similar to the last two.
Yeah,
it is, isn't it?
And you mentioned the Jalen Hurts problem, and as you mentioned before as well about Philly, I've lost a couple of games with Minshew playing. So these guys are playing not 100% because why would you? They're too far ahead, weren't they?
Yeah.
Once you lost the undefeated streak, they were like, whatever, we're going to win the division and that's about it. Not going to get the undefeated streak anymore. So, and we're the only team to actually beat Philly with Hurts.
Everybody, yeah,
it's true.
As the quarterback.
And they didn't have other injuries as well.
What we're going to do. And Giants can do what we can do. They've got better offensive line than we have as well. They've got better running back. We got good running backs, but Saquon's a different level. You know what I mean? You know, and they got Daniel Jones who could run better than Heineke can, and he can throw ball better than Heineke. So if they do our game plan to the T, they'll beat them. They'll beat them.
I think Philly will do a better job than the Vikings did of keeping Jones in the pocket. I think they'll be very conscious of that after watching last week, and I think they'll make sure that their pass rush discipline, their lane discipline is better, so that they don't let him escape the pocket as easily as Minnesota did last week. But it's definitely not as clear cut as it would have been, a month ago, maybe.
I agree.
Let's face it, it's family business, isn't it? Both in our divisions, family business. The form book goes out the window. Just like us when we beat them.
Yeah,
we shouldn't have had any right beating them when we smoked them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it can happen.
Yeah, and it's the third time they've played this season, so obviously they know each other inside out. So it's gonna, these interdivision games are usually closer than teams that perhaps don't know each other as well, because you know each other inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is the one. I'm taking the Eagles, by the way. This is the one that I can't call. I really can't. The Bills were my Super Bowl pick for getting into the Super Bowl and to winning it this year. Before the season started, Bengals at Bills, very very tough game this.
Tasty
and
game.
I want to watch this game. I really want to watch this game. Joe Burrow getting hot again, as you've said just before, Tony. This is the time where you see who the teams are. They started off at 0-2. Jamar Chase looks completely fit and raring to go. And the Bills have squeaked by in a few games. They've not been themselves. No. So Josh Allen threw a few picks last week as well. So what are your thoughts on this one?
You going, Scouts, or I go?
I'll go Tony first. Sorry.
I was just wondering who's the OC? Who's the OC there at the Bills? Bills. I know Mike Schuler's around somewhere, isn't he?
Kafka.
Yeah,
is he the passing guy, or is he the OC?
I think Kafka's the OC. Is he not?
Yeah,
no, he's
Kafka.
Or is he?
Well, either way, that shows how bad Schuler is, because you've got the elite quarterback of Allen, and he's throwing so many picks in the red zone. It's unbelievable. This guy is not at this level that he should be. Do you know what I mean?
I think there's
definitely something going on there.
I think he's had a little bit of hero complex the last few weeks. I don't know.
Ken Dorsey.
Kafka's the Giants.
Kafka's at the Giants. Yeah, it's Ken Dorsey.
He's the OC. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they just need. I think Allen just needs to settle down a little bit, take some of the easier throws. For me, I think the Bills will win, because I think the Bengals are getting, not necessarily the skill players, but they're getting banged up on the line at the wrong time. I think they've got, potentially 3 out of the 5 starters who may not play this weekend.
That's big.
That is big.
Yeah.
And the Bills aren't the greatest sort of pass rush team, and obviously they haven't got Von Miller at the moment either. So, but at the same time, I think if you watched last weekend, that the Ravens, and I know that the Ravens know the Bengals inside out because of the divisional stuff, but I think the Bengals only had like 240 yards of total offense last week, something like that. So they weren't explosive, and if Burrow's a hell of a quarterback and he's a hell of a decision maker, but if he's got 60% of his offensive line out, he might struggle.
Plus, he's in Buffalo as well. So
yeah, I mean the Bills
could be minus 20, couldn't it? Do you know?
Yeah, the Bengals have got a chip on their shoulder though over this whole neutral field thing, and Mixon was banging on about it this week as well. So I think the Bengals have definitely got a bit of a siege mentality going on. So I think the Bills will win. But
it's a hard game, man. It's a hard game to call.
This
is a 50-50 game. I know you could say, the Bills are at home, they should be like 10-point favorite or whatever, but you don't know what Josh Allen you're going to get.
No, well, no, and I think everybody just assumed that after the Hamlin after the Hamlin thing that the Bills would just ride this wave of emotion to the championship. Now they may do, but the other side of the coin is that it may have taken quite a lot out of them emotionally as well. Now, obviously, I don't know that. I don't know which way it'll end up, but the last couple of weeks, they haven't been at their best. The 2 kickoff touchdowns, which obviously made sure that they beat the Patriots, and then last week, third string quarterback took them all the way. I think they got a bit complacent when they were 17-0 ahead. I think they should have just, they carried on playing as if the game was 0-0, which is probably a little bit disrespectful to Miami, because I don't think they thought that Skylar Thompson was going to be able to pull them back.
Well, I think that was it. That's exactly it. They just thought he's not good enough, and no, that's it. It's over already. It's 17-0, and
I think they got a bit.
Never over.
Fuck my hacker.
It's never over when you. It's never over when you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You know what I mean? And two beastly running backs as well.
I think they got a bit loose, and I think that I don't necessarily think they'll do that this week against the Bengals, because I think they'll have more respect for Burrow, and that Allen perhaps was thinking, well, it's probably not going to matter if I chuck a couple of picks here and there. It's not really going to make any difference. Whereas I think it probably will this week.
Yeah.
And then the last game we've got then, boys.
Type of Bills, just Bills, I think.
Yeah, Cowboys at 49ers.
Well, this is easy, this one, isn't it?
Cowboys.
Well, it should be. Cowboys, you going Cowboys?
Yeah, fuck off, mate.
No
this is the one I'm going for the upset in.
Really? Wow.
Man. Dallas are going down, and they're going down big time. This should be at least 10 points, this one.
It should
away
be.
At 49ers. Away at the 49ers, yeah.
That's a tough ask. That's a really tough ask.
Smoked. That's what I'm saying.
I think the 49ers are going to do this, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at this now thinking they are a complete football team, no matter what you look at. But the only question is obviously the quarterback.
This is why I'm going for the Cowboys, and there's no evidence to support the theory that Purdy might break down, because they've been saying it every week and he hasn't.
11 straight, by the way. 11 straight wins.
Yeah. but by the same token, that first half against Seattle had him in a bit of trouble. He made a few bad decisions. He threw a few balls behind. Dallas has got a
nervous,
has got a pretty. Yeah, he could have been nervous. Dallas has got a pretty fierce pass rush. And
Micah Parsons, man.
Have you seen the old line though for the Niners?
Yeah, I know.
Williams on one side and Armstead on the other. I mean, the team's awesome, man.
I just think that Purdy is due, and this is the only thing I'm basing this on, and this could go completely spectacularly wrong, but Purdy is due for someone to find him out and for him to have a little bit of a rookie game where he makes a couple of bad decisions under pressure, throws a couple of picks. And the Cowboys just seemed to get themselves in a bit of a groove last week, apart from the kicker. I had a back
one of our guys, that. It's pretty time for us next week.
Joey Sly was looking at him going, jeez, man, I can do that.
I'm definitely keeping my job now if you see this kind of shit.
Yeah, but I understand completely that the 49ers will probably win, reasonably comfortably, but I just have a sneaky feeling that the Cowboys are going to do it. So
taking a Cowboys, wow.
I mean, I understand your thought process and that, but I just can't see it. I just can't see him blowing it. I just can't. I mean, if Purdy starts throwing really, really bad, they'll just give it to all the crazy run plays that they've got and the checkdowns. And Parsons will be out the game because obviously he's trying to get through. And they'll be ball's already gone, mate. Bye. Yeah.
Got a good fullback as well, so they can use him in the backfield.
I mean, this guy got Pro Bowl, right? The guy you're talking about there. There's no fullbacks who play in the NFL. So why should there be a Pro Bowl spot for a fullback?
I thought they'd almost phase that out, but there's what's his name, Rickard. It's the Ravens as well. Who always seems to get the AFC.
So there's two guys in the whole NFL. Because name me some more genuine fullbacks.
Oh, there's a couple, but I can't think of it now.
Yeah,
exactly, because they're not that good and they're not that in the game. They're more blocking guys. Do you know what I mean? So I don't get it, man. I don't get it. There shouldn't be a Pro Bowl spot for a fullback.
Who are you taking for your Super Bowl then, Tony? We'll finish it on that one.
Go for the Chiefs against Philly.
Chiefs, Philly. Wow.
Okay. You want a winner, or do you want?
Go on then. Who are you going with?
I think the Chiefs will win it.
Chiefs. Right, great. That'll actually be a really good.
Boring pick.
It'll be a really good Super Bowl, actually, to be fair. Well, thanks very much for being on with us, Tony. Really appreciate your time today.
Cheers, boys. Enjoyed that.
It's been a great to catch up with you. We obviously
always good speaking.
Yeah, we've obviously seen you in September. A great fan. Really appreciate you being on here as our first guest. If you are, I don't know if you're on social media in particular, but if you want to plug your social media handles or anywhere they can find you.
Well, I'm on Twitter at Tony J Wheat, and obviously do some writing for Full Press Commanders, so it's at Full Press Commanders. So that's those two things. That's the main stuff.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for being on with us. Thank you, Scouts, for being on here as always. We will continue to keep the mic rolling because throughout the off season there's going to be more and more stuff to talk about, especially around the sale and around who we hire as the OC and then we're into free agency, and then we're into ultimately the draft. So stick with us throughout the summer. We really appreciate you subscribing and liking on YouTube. Numbers are going up every week as we speak, and I'm pretty certain they'll go up this week. So thank you again, Tony. That's it from us, guys. We'll catch you next Thursday evening. It will drop in your feed for Friday morning. So, take care and stay safe. Thanks very much, everyone.
Cheers, Tom.
Cheers, guys.